Happy New Year's, everyone. It's 2026, and we're still here, Fourth and Whatever podcast. We are going to be going over the games that happened this past weekend. Kind of late to the punch with it, but when we record these episodes, we kind of do it on and release them on Tuesdays. We've had time to kind of think about the games. We've had time to let everything that happened soak in a little bit. Crazy stuff happened. We predicted some of the games correctly. Other ones we didn't get right, but man, what a crazy, crazy weekend. I know that the first round of the playoffs, Mike, you and I talked about it. They weren't really all that exciting. I mean, you did have maybe one or two games that was pretty good, but for the most part, the first round was kind of whatever. That second round, however, though, man, some of the games and the way that they played out, you had tight games, you had crazy games, you had blowouts, you had a little bit of everything in what you would expect a college football playoff to give you. But man, Mike, if you want to go ahead and just kind of let's just go ahead and jump right into this thing, man. We'll start with that first game, and it was a wild one, man.
Yeah, just what everybody expected, right? Um, no, I mean, man, it was. Before I start, just want to say, I'm disclaimer here. I'm not a Michigan fan, but in honor of Ohio State this season, I just kind of wanted to wear something, to showcase their big accomplishment this year, because they beat Michigan this year for the first time in 5 years. And
Yeah,
that was the only accomplishment this year, man. They lost their conference championship game, and then they go in to lose the first round of the playoffs against Miami. Um, and honestly, man, we were wrong on that, and I'm
yep,
happy we were. This was one game I was happy to predict wrong, um, and man, Ohio State. I said it before. I think this game though, I did say their offense struggles with good defenses, and they did have a moment where they looked good. I will give them some credit here. Smith is a insane receiver, man.
oh yeah,
I mean, he had over 100 yards receiving, so got to give kudos to him there on that. But as far as scoring, man, they scored 14 points, and it's just not going to win you a lot of real
yep,
big ball games, and especially in the playoffs. And Miami's defense, man, they came after them. It
yep,
shocked me, dude, just how the game went. Honestly, I think you spoke about Carson Beck having the experience that he has. And I felt like between the two quarterbacks, you could kind of see who really had the experience in the playoffs and who's been there before.
yep.
So I thought it was cool that we mentioned those two things, and that is something that reflected heavy in this game. I feel like, um, in all seriousness, I mean, Miami just, dude, I mean, they're playing really well right now.
Yeah.
And did not expect to see Miami in this Final Four, man. I don't think a lot of people probably had them there. I mean, this is a
No.
team that almost missed the playoffs. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, dude? I mean, like I said, I'm happy to see it, man. Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved every bit of it.
Yeah. This is something that you and I were really hoping that we would see. And in the last episode, we actually mentioned upsets pretty much.
Yeah.
And this was actually the game that we were referring to. We didn't call it out specifically, I don't think, but this was the game we were
Yeah.
referring to when it comes to upsets. I will kind of start out with this, Mike. First and foremost, that hat is freaking incredible.
Yeah.
It's
It's a cool
actually
hat. It is a
it's a
cool hat.
really nice hat. I like the colors way more than the scarlet and silver or whatever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just more appealing to the eye. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Um, but this is one we predicted wrong, Mike. I think a lot of people predicted Ohio State to win this game, and
Oh yeah.
and it's just one of those situations where why wouldn't you pick them? Defending national champions. They were high up on everyone's board. A lot of people had them winning the entire thing. But in a game where you struggle offensively running the ball, Ohio State finished the game with 45 rushing yards total in this game. And if I'm not mistaken, Julian Sayin threw two interceptions. So with
Yep.
their offensive struggles running the ball, they started resorting to a lot of pass plays and a lot of forced stuff. And I think that's where you really saw that inexperience come into play for Julian Sayin in a moment like this,
For
because
sure.
he started playing timid, he started forcing stuff, he looked very uncomfortable at times. And that Miami defense, I mean, I think that they could make almost any quarterback look uncomfortable back there in the pocket, to be honest with you, man. They play super fast. They play aggressive. We've actually talked about Miami's defense and team as a whole throughout the entire season on this podcast. We've had a few
Yeah.
ups and downs with them. I mean, at one point we claimed that they
Yeah.
were the best team in the nation, and then they slipped a little bit, but they've gained traction at the right time.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, when one aspect of your offense is starting to fail, and you start trying to force that other aspect of your offense, a lot of times it's not going to work out in your favor. And yeah, Julian Sayin ended up throwing almost 300 passing yards, but he also had two crucial interceptions, man. And
Yeah.
you can't turn the ball over like that in big games like this, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And it's just funny, like you mentioned that how like a lot of Ohio State was predicted by a lot to win the Natty, and
Yeah,
up
they were.
until before their conference championship, man, people said that there was a gap between this team and everyone else, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that got shut down, here at the end of the season real quick, and I think it shocked a lot of people, man. I really
Yeah,
did.
yeah, I agree with you, dude. And we've been screaming for weeks and weeks and weeks that the gap is not what everyone
Yeah,
thinks it is. There is not a
yeah,
gap. At one point during the regular season, maybe Ohio State was the best team, but when you look at their track record and look at the teams that they did beat, I mean,
yeah.
honestly, dude, what did they accomplish in that win column? I mean,
It kind of makes
uh,
you wonder, if a team we talk about being battle tested sometimes, and
mhm,
and I know that like Penn State and some was supposed to be a tougher opponent during the year. I understand that, and that they can't help with the scheduling on that, but ultimately it still was an easier schedule, and you got to kind of wonder at the end of the year when wasn't battle tested throughout the season. So did that come
yep,
to hurt them, end of the season?
yep. And I'm going to be really interested in looking at those Ohio State fan comments on any of the shorts that we post or any of the videos.
Oh
This
yeah,
episode, for instance, that we post. Um, they found excuse after excuse for the Indiana loss, and
yeah,
I know that you even mentioned something about you saw where one of the Ohio State fans said, Miami's lucky that they caught Ohio State on a bad day. It's like at a certain point, you have to just
yeah.
swallow your pride and accept defeat. You got
Accept it.
beat, okay?
Yeah,
You got beat,
absolutely.
and that's just point blank. I mean, some of the statistics when you look up and down the team stats, for instance, I mean, you had some close stats. I mean, the game, even though it was a 10-point game, I mean, there were moments in time where the game felt kind of
Yeah.
tight. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It wasn't really clear cut from the get go, I don't think. Both defenses played pretty good, but I am going to be the first to go ahead and just admit that I was kind of right about the Carson Beck having that experience, and you can't count
Yeah.
that out because even though Carson Beck didn't necessarily light up the statistics, he only threw for like 138 through the air or whatever. But he kept the ball clean. He didn't throw any interceptions. And really, there was one play that sticks out in my mind that Carson Beck basically just willed himself to a first down.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking. Like he trucked the guy, and yeah,
Yes,
that was just
and
willpower right there.
yeah, and I don't think throughout Carson Beck's career, dude, I don't really think that he's known as like a tough,
No,
like run you over type of quarterback, but he isn't a small guy. I mean, he's a pretty
yeah,
big guy. But in that moment right there, you could tell that the experience started showing up for him as an individual, and then the team kind of rallying around that, and it almost just seemed like there was a switch that was flipped, and you could clearly see that Miami, maybe this might be bold to say, but maybe Miami just wanted it more. Does that make sense? You could kind of
yeah,
see that shift at a certain point in the game. Um, but yeah, this is exactly the outcome that we were looking for as far as the fourth and whatever podcast. We will admit that we did get this one wrong, so sorry, Miami. But man, I couldn't be any happier. I couldn't be any
yeah.
happier with this outcome.
Awesome, dude. It's awesome. I mean, it truly is, and
Yep.
and while we're on this, we're talking about the games, that happened, and so we can move right on into the next one because I think we got some more games we're happy with, but I guess the next one would have been Oregon and Texas Tech.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm that was the first game of that day. It was a noon game. You had
Yep.
Oregon beating Texas Tech. They won 23 to nothing. I will say, man, Texas Tech's defense played from overall what I've seen a great game. I know the score was 23-0, but that last touchdown did happen late in the game after a turnover on downs.
Yep.
Oregon was deep in their territory on that, and the game was pretty much over at that point. I know it was 16-0. When I was watching at one point, and I believe they had stopped them a few times on fourth down. They'd created
Hmm.
turnovers. Texas Tech's defense was looking stout, and they had been stout all year.
Yep.
But unfortunately for them, the offense could not move the ball. And credit to Oregon's defense, man. I mean,
Yep.
Oregon's defense was playing lights out in this game, and it just, I think the better team showed up and won that day. From what I gathered, I didn't get
Yep.
to watch all this game, but I feel like Oregon is out of the two. I think we did predict this one, and we predicted Oregon to win this game, and I just think with that Oregon's the better team overall, and I think it did show. But I just wanted to mention that about Texas Tech's defense, man, because it's unfortunate for them because I do think that they played a good enough game, and at some point you can't hold a team back that long if your offense won't do anything. And
Right.
Texas Tech just, I mean, 0 points on the board, man. So
Yeah. Yeah. You're not going to win big time ball games like this if you don't play complementary football. Your offense has to complement the defense and vice versa. But yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mike. I mean, it looked like early in the game, Texas Tech was making tons of stops on Oregon's offense. Um, and then when Texas Tech's offense would step on the field, it was like three and out, three and out, three and out, three and out. You cannot expect your defense to bail you out for an entire 4 quarters
yeah,
and not produce any points on the offensive side of the ball. Um, it's just not going to work out, man. The defense is going to tire down, and
yeah,
eventually they're going to give out. And that's kind of what you saw here. It was like whose defense can outlast whose. And we mentioned it in the last episode when it comes to this game. I just felt like overall Oregon has a higher caliber of athlete on their team, more playmakers, more weapons. And it obviously that was displayed on the field. Just a better overall team.
yeah,
Uh, Dan Lanning's a monster, so I feel like Oregon's probably a better coached team as well. But shout out to Texas Tech because the scoreboard really doesn't reflect the effort that defense gave. You would
yeah,
like to have seen Texas Tech's offense at least capitalize on some of those three and outs because they had the field position on certain moments as well.
yeah.
Um, but Texas Tech's quarterback, I don't really remember his name. Morton. No, yeah, his last name was Morton. He just
Yeah.
did. He looked rattled. He looked rattled the whole game. He didn't look like he could do anything. Threw 2 picks. So I mean,
I felt like a couple of times Oregon went through some of those fourth downs just because they were so confident that
yeah,
their defense
yeah,
was going to stop them. So it was like, well, if
yep,
we don't get this, all right, oh
right,
well, we'll just get the ball right back here soon. So that's kind of how it felt on some of
yeah,
those.
yeah. Oregon went for fourth down 8 times. They went 50%, 4 and 8 on fourth
Yeah,
downs. So like you said, that's just a testament to leaning
yeah,
on your defense. And then as the
absolutely.
game went on, obviously Oregon started playing a little bit more complimentary football. And I think that's just because, like what I said a second ago, Texas Tech's defense just completely wore down, man. And you can't
Yeah,
expect to bail your team out the entire game on one side of the ball. That's for
no,
sure.
absolutely not, man.
Yeah, the
But
final score of that one was 23-0. I would say it was a heck of a game. It was kind of a good game to watch there for a while, but once
yeah,
Oregon took control on offense, it was over.
yeah. And overall, man, I mean, personally, I was happy with the Oregon win, and not that I have
Yep.
anything against Texas Tech. I've always kind of liked Oregon, so
Right.
I was hoping that they would win this game, and we did predict it. Um, There's another game, Adam, that happened that I know you're going to be more than happy to talk about, and I feel like you really enjoyed this game, as I did as well.
Yeah.
Um, Number one, Indiana, man,
Mhm.
beating Alabama 38-3.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
man, it was a beatdown, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that Indiana just had caught Alabama on a bad day or anything like
Right.
that. I think Indiana just showed up, executed the game perfectly, and just
Mhm.
outcoached, outplayed them.
Yep.
Um, And just Indiana's a team, man, that, I think we even kind of talked about this. You're going to have to beat Indiana. It's not going to be that you're going to catch them probably on a bad day, I don't think. I think you're going to have to straight up beat Indiana because they are always prepared. But I'll let you kind of get rolling in this game first, and then I'll get back to it there. I know you got some things you'd like to say.
Yeah, I just want to say that for the first time in my memory, I watched an Alabama team look like they didn't belong on the field. Alabama looked like the lower caliber team for once in my memory, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And and I'm not taking away anything from what Indiana did. I'll get to that, but I do want to just kind of harp on. It's almost a shock factor, to be honest with you, watching the Tide lose like this, and I'm here for it. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm
yeah,
here for it. As a Tennessee fan, just watching them get beat like that was very, very satisfying. You know what
yeah,
I mean? I'll just start with that. But secondly, last week, and I think it's really important to mention this, Mike, you and I talked about how, obviously we predicted this game. We predicted Indiana to win the game. And one of the key points that you and I brought up was Alabama's going to get out coached in this one, and you can almost guarantee that. And that's exactly what happened. Early in the game, you saw Kalen DeBoer. He was super uncomfortable. You could tell going for it on fourth down
yeah,
early in the game. That right there kind of was a little bit shocking to me because it was in situations where you didn't necessarily have to go for it on fourth down in those
yeah.
certain moments. I guess he just felt the huge momentum swing all the way to Indiana, and he just felt like he had to do something. Didn't work out in his favor. 0 for 2 on fourth down conversions. Indiana was just so efficient, man. They didn't even have a fourth down. They didn't even have to try to convert on a fourth down.
Yeah.
There was not one moment during this entire game that Indiana was down on the scoreboard. 22 first downs, 9 for 14 on third down conversions. Alabama couldn't stop them for anything. Um, Mendoza proved why he's the Heisman candidate. He looked incredible, looked poised. Ty Simpson was pretty much running for his life the entire game. It seemed like. I will say one thing, and this is going to give Alabama a little bit of credit. As far as a game as a whole, you watched two really disciplined teams on that day. Alabama hasn't been that disciplined all season, but for whatever reason in this game, they were disciplined. There was only two penalties in this entire game,
Hmm.
one on each team. And that right there is an impressive stat line, win or lose for any team, to kind of come in and only get one penalty. But man, I think it's just apparent. I think it's just so
Yeah,
obvious that Indiana, the better team, won. There's no
yeah.
questioning. There's no second guessing it. It's going to be a little hard for Alabama fans to probably swallow this fact, but it's not the same team anymore. You know what I mean?
No, man, it definitely wasn't a fluke, and Indiana, I believe, is the team to beat. To be honest, right now at this point in the playoffs,
Yeah.
um, and just curious, man, how many rushing yards did Alabama have in this game?
Yeah. So that's where, both teams kind of passed the ball decently. Alabama had 193 passing yards. No, Alabama had 170 passing yards. Indiana had 192 passing yards. So you could say
Wow.
that that's comparable. This is the kicker right here, Mike, and I'll answer your question. Indiana had 215 rushing yards. They gashed Alabama, and it was watching the game, dude. It was actually right up the middle between the tackles, is where most
Yeah.
of these rushing yards came from. Alabama had 23 rushing yards. Just let
I,
that sink in for a second. 17
yeah.
attempts for 23 yards. They averaged 1.4 yards a carry.
Yeah, man, and I know that's something we mentioned just about the one-dimensional and
Yep.
not being able to rush the ball well this year, and how that was going to be
Yep.
difficult for them. Indiana, that would play in their favor to be able to stop the run, and they definitely did. I think we even had, I'm assuming it was a Bama fan, but somebody like with the clown emojis on us for that and everything. And I was just like, I mean, the stats are the stats, man. You can look those up, and
Yep.
that's kind of how it was in this game. It went just like we said it would on that. 23 rushing yards. Yeah, it's just not going to do it, man. 3 points. It's that was just domination, man.
Yep.
JMU might have deserved to be there a little more at that point in time, but
And kind of going back to what you said, someone put a clown emoji or whatever on that when we talked
yeah,
about Alabama being one dimensional. Whoever that person is hasn't watched Alabama football all season.
no,
Alabama has struggled
literally not.
running the ball all season long.
Yeah,
Kai
yeah,
Simpson's had to bail them out through the air all season long. So,
yeah,
um, just a
yeah. It
casual
wasn't
fan,
just
I guess.
yeah, it wasn't a one-time watch, that's for sure. But yeah, man. Just thought I would throw that out there. I thought that was interesting.
Yep.
How that came to light. And in the two games that we had, uh, you know, some good points on there we were right on both of those. And then of course, um, we missed on the Ohio State Miami game.
Mm,
And this last game, we were also wrong in our prediction. Man, this might be the most surprising game of this whole thing. And um, even is Ole Miss beating Georgia 39-34.
yep.
And I mean, just a dude. What a first off, this is the best game in my opinion of this round.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
Such an awesome game. And I say the most surprising, and honestly, I don't know that we should have been. If you really think back, the only team that Ole Miss had lost to was this Georgia team earlier in the season,
Mm,
and it was also a close game. I think
yep.
the reason everything kind of seemed surprising and was kind of holding back on, you know, with Ole Miss is the coaching situation, and
Right.
and you would think because of that, I mean, that would be rightfully something to think, but man, Ole Miss kind of come out and shocked the world there this weekend and in an awesome game. Earlier in the game, it kind of looked like it was definitely going to go Georgia's way. Um,
Mm,
and Miami or Ole Miss, excuse me. Just thinking of the another team that was just fighting maybe more for it. Um, Dude, I mean
right.
they just fought tooth and nail for this win, dude, and
Yeah,
just
they did.
complete determination. I mean, the one play, man, that stood out the most has to be Ole Miss quarterback, man, that had dropped back. It looked like you said, to me, it was like Michael Vick and Madden, man, dropping back. I mean, he ran back almost to his goal line, man. And
Yep.
at first, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be a disaster. Um,
Hmm.
and then his running back, who catches the pass, not only to hold on to that play, man, he got popped but didn't go down and gets the first down. He would not have had the first down right there. Um,
Right.
Dude, when I seen that happen, I was like, this is about to be a game.
Yep.
Because Ole Miss that was the play they drove down to end up, I think, taking the lead
Yep.
in that game. And I was like, this is about to be a football game. Man, what are your thoughts on this one? It was a
Yep.
heck of a game.
Well, first I'm going to start off by saying I goofed up and I messed up and I put all my eggs in one basket with the Georgia Bulldogs. I had Georgia winning all. I had Georgia winning the Natty. And I'm not going to go back on my word because that's how I truly felt. I felt that
Yeah,
Georgia was the best team. And in this matchup in particular, I 100% felt and thought that Georgia was the better team. But what you're saying does feel correct. It does feel as though Ole Miss had a little bit more of a grit, maybe had that chip on their shoulder, maybe had that underdog mentality going for them because what they did on the field was nothing short of impressive, man. I mean, very, very, very impressive. Tough, tough, tough fought game. It was an electric game, and it had you
yeah,
glued to the screen the entire time. You and I were texting back and forth during this entire thing, and
yeah,
it was like every 2 to 3 minutes, you and I were saying, "Did you see that? Oh my God, they're coming back. This is
yeah,
a crazy game. I don't know if they can do this. I don't know if they're going to do that. I think they might do
yeah,
this." You and I were trying to predict the game as it went because it was just that back and forth at a certain moment in time. Um, at a certain moment in time, Georgia did kind of pull away from it, and I remember I was getting ready to jump in the shower, and I was like, okay, now's a good time to take a shower because Georgia's going to start pulling away. Come back after taking a shower, start watching the game again, and then it just became apparent that this Ole Miss team wasn't going to go away.
yeah,
Um, Something really, really, really important to bring up here is, like you said, the quarterback play from Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss. That one drive, dude, and it's going to go down in history as probably one of the greatest drives ever put together by a quarterback, and that's not an exaggeration. I think the kid went. What did he go, Mike? I wish we had this stat on hand right now.
It was so many without an incompletion, man, and
I don't want
it
to
was something
undershoot it,
crazy.
and I don't want to
Yeah,
overshoot it, but I want to say it was like, was it 7 for 7 or 11 for 11 or just something
so
ridiculous?
yeah,
And it
I
and it
can't
and it
remember
wasn't.
exactly.
And if I'm thinking correctly, Mike, it wasn't like simple, short little digs or
No,
dives or out passes. I mean, I'm talking dude was scrambling around the pocket, ducking and dodging defenders and
no,
slinging the ball down the field to an open receiver.
yeah,
I mean, he was fighting for those completions. You know what I'm
oh yeah,
saying? And that's typically what happens when you've got a quarterback that can run around, man. The coverage in
yeah,
the secondary starts to break down, and your receivers
hmm
start kind of going off route. And he's got the vision. He's got crazy
oh
downfield
yeah.
vision, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was insane, dude, on his play.
Yeah,
And I mean, and I have to also say, man, a shout out with Gunnar Stockton, man. What a tough dude. First off, I
yeah,
just want to say on that, man,
yeah,
we've seen him take some shots. I know one in particular, man. I can't believe he got back up, and then he even, ran the ball in the next play after that. I mean,
hmm
and just those two QBs battling it out, man. They definitely laid it all on the line. I feel like
yeah,
both of them. So got to mention that, man, because he was very tough in this game as well.
yeah,
Because this wasn't no game where one team didn't play well or one team didn't. I mean, it was just a hard fought battle between these two teams, man. Um,
yep.
and some crazy things from Georgia. I mean, like the fake punt by Kirby Smart whenever Ole Miss
Awesome,
was gaining the momentum.
awesome.
Completely unexpected play. It's kind of one of those plays, deep in your territory. If you don't get it, everybody's gonna, say you're an idiot for it. But at the same time, dude, it was so unexpected. Now,
Yep,
that being said, he had another fourth down play, went forward deep in his territory, and they were only down
yep,
three. I don't know that
yep,
I agreed with that one, and that one kind of came back to
yep,
haunt him because Ole Miss scored immediately after that to go up 10 in
yep.
that one there. But that one was not the greatest decision we've ever seen him make, and I don't know how you feel about how great of a coach he is, and he is, and that just man, great coaches are still going to make mistakes. Um,
Yep. That I
so
think that moment that you're talking about right there just goes to show you the type of pressure that Ole Miss was putting on Georgia, and
I
and
think
the
so.
it's obvious that the pressure got to Kirby Smart in that moment, man, because like you said, that was like a unnecessary attempt
Yeah,
on fourth down because if I remember correctly, there was obviously plenty of time on the clock.
yeah,
Georgia's defense is still Georgia's defense. I feel like you punt the ball, kind of pin them as deep as you can in their own territory, and just duke it out on defense, and whatever happens, happens. You don't want to
yeah,
cough up the ball and give them any advantage whatsoever, especially in a game like this, man.
for sure, man, for sure. But definitely, I would say, I guess I would have had to give that the game of the weekend, for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
or the week. It was during the middle of the week, but
Yep.
uh, great game, man.
As far as watching a game that was hard fought, tooth and nail, down to the wire. I mean, what a game! What a game! And there was moments in that game when I was like, okay, this thing's definitely going into overtime. You know what I mean? There
Yeah,
were definitely
oh yeah,
moments where it felt like an overtime type game.
yeah,
But both teams, like we said, they played really hard. Both teams comparable stats in a lot of the categories. I'm not really going to go over every single one of them, but both teams turned the ball over one time each. Time of possession is comparable. So, like I said, just up and down the board. And I would have never expected it. I'll be the first to admit that I have slept on Ole Miss the entire season, even in the preseason rankings. Slept on them. That's my fault. Um, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see
yeah,
these guys fighting, and it's cool to see that everything that their team's been faced with off the field, with the distractions and all that, it's given them some sort of motivational factor, dude, with a chip on their shoulder because they are playing like crazy. And um, man, who knows where they could go? They could
yeah,
make it to the Natty, man. That's a very strong possibility.
yeah, man. They got a
That
chance at it
Miami,
for sure.
yeah, that next matchup between them and Miami is going to be it's going to be something serious.
Oh yeah,
I think
yeah,
real quick, Mike, talking about that, and this is just something that I find odd. So if you recall Trinidad Chambliss, the way he played in that game, running around like crazy, slinging the ball everywhere, you know, if you look at the stats, man, it's really, really wild. Typically, a quarterback that plays that style, running around the pocket and all that, usually you would see a quarterback like that rack up a lot of rushing yards. Dude only had 14 rushing yards on 4 attempts. So his first instinct is to stand in the pocket or run around and get a good, clean throw off in the pocket. And I like that more so than a quarterback that just bails out of the pocket every chance they get and start running down the field. Don't you?
Yeah, man. I mean, he scrambles around and he's still looking for the pass. So he's definitely a throw
Mm-hmm.
pass quarterback,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that is what you want to see. I feel like in an offense, man, because a
Yeah.
quarterback sometimes that has that ability might try to run out a little earlier and miss some opportunities, man. And I think some of those plays he made, he would have definitely missed opportunities had he just took
Yep.
off. So
1000%. And the
so
plays
yeah,
would have not been near as big if he'd have took off running. 30 for
sure.
46 with 362 passing yards, man.
It's insane, dude. That is a insane stat. And
Yep.
I mean, again, that's the game of the playoffs so far. That's
Yep.
been the
And
best game
that's
of the playoffs.
and his performance in the playoffs is probably the
Yeah,
single best player performance in the playoffs that we've seen so far, hands down.
yeah, absolutely.
I,
At this point,
what a game, man. What a game. Like we
yeah,
said, what a weekend, dude. What a weekend for college football. It gave everybody a little bit of what I would want. We
yeah.
saw a good upset. Because kudos to Miami, but they were the underdog, and
Oh yeah,
I do consider that an upset.
yeah. I
Uh,
would say so.
consi- Considering the fact that Miami, like you said earlier, kind of just squeezed into the playoff on some technicalities with the ACC championship game, but it gave you beatdowns, it gave you tight games, it gave you upsets. I mean, it was pure cinema, as they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely,
man.
man.
But this week, we've got two games coming up this weekend. It's the semifinal, or not this weekend, this week rather. One game Thursday,
Yep.
one game Friday. The semifinals, man, it's crazy that it's come down to the final four, so to speak, Mike. Out of these two games, and we don't have to talk about them in order. Which game are you more looking forward to? Let's just lead off with that, whichever game that is, and then we'll talk about the other one. One of them's a rematch
Yeah,
from the regular season, by the way.
yeah, man. This is actually even tough because I think that these are. I just want to start off by saying I think this is a really cool Final Four teams to be left
Yeah.
because it's been a long time since Miami had, and like these teams haven't. I mean, some of these teams haven't won
Hmm.
and none of them's won in the college football playoff era. Um, so this
Right.
is new slate of teams, man, in this college football playoff era that you're not getting a lot of the same teams that we're used to seeing. So this is really cool to see four teams that, like I said, have not won during the college football playoff era.
Hmm.
And Miami has won a Natty. It's been a long time, so
Yeah.
really cool to see, man. These are both games I don't want to miss. I'll just say that. Going to be
One
great
thousand
games,
percent.
man. Um, I'm going to lean towards probably the Indiana Oregon game just because it is a rematch from earlier in the season. These two teams
Hmm.
had a um, really close game earlier in the season.
Yep.
And with Indiana now playing the way they are, it's just going to be interesting to see how this game pans out. And Oregon's been playing well. So, uh, conference, both in the same conference in the Final Four playoffs. I've got to lean towards that game personally, if I
Yep.
had to pick one. But they're both going to be great games to watch, I think. Looking forward to seeing how both of these pan out.
Yeah, that one's definitely going to be exciting to watch, man, without question. Yeah, like you said, rematch of the regular season. We've talked about it on this podcast before, and it actually has rung true so far in these
Mhm.
playoffs, man. It's hard to beat the same team twice in one
Yeah,
season. And let's just give some examples of that. Just looking at these playoffs, first round of the playoffs, Alabama, Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Alabama in the regular season. Alabama
yeah,
gets the best of them in the playoffs. Same thing happens with the Ole Miss Georgia game that we just talked about. Ole Miss takes the L in the regular season. The Georgia turns around and gets the W over Georgia in the second round of the playoffs. So it's no surprise, and it's not a secret that it is very, very, very tough to beat a team twice in one season. How does that fare for Indiana, man? I mean, in your opinion, what does that mean for a team like Indiana that we've seen be so dominant this season, um, completely dismantling an Alabama team last weekend? You know, some people I know people that had Alabama. You know, I know people that know football that had Alabama picked to win it all this season. So, I mean,
Yeah.
how you know
Um,
how does that fare for Indiana when you're playing an opponent for the second time in this season that you've already beat them once? You know,
I mean, it's no secret, man. It's definitely hard to beat a team twice in a season, especially one that's good and you know, that you played with closely. And um, but if I could say anything about Indiana, man, that team's always ready, and that
right?
team is going to be ready to come out and play. And it goes to their coach, man. He just has that team ready to play.
Uh-huh.
Um, it's not something to be looked over, and I don't think they will look over it. And I think that's going to be the difference between Indiana and not that Georgia and them look over. It's playoffs; nobody's looking over anybody, but just
Right.
Indiana's preparation, man, and just how they're always ready. And they just even in these tight games that they play in, they somehow find a way to win, man. And I just think right now this is Indiana's team to beat. And for prediction wise, man, I can't predict against them. I think Indiana's going to win this game. Um, you know, and I mean, could be you know, all these you could be wrong about at this point. It
Of
was the
course.
final four of the playoffs, man. But if you're asking who I'm going to pick, I do still think Indiana's going to break that for this playoffs, and I do think that they will beat Oregon again. Um, and it'll be an interesting game. It's going to be a lot closer than I feel like the Bama and Indiana game was, I would imagine. Um, but yeah, I do think Indiana is going to just be ready to play, man, like they have all season long. I think for them, they're not looking at, you know, just a team they've played twice.
Right.
This is another game, and they're looking at this game, and I think their coach is going to have them ready.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair to say, man. I mean, I think. I mean, obviously, Dan Lanning is a good coach, and I'm not questioning anything that he does, and I'm not questioning
Oh
the
yeah,
mentality that he puts his
he's a
players
great
in
coach.
because
We're
he's
going to
an
be ready
awesome
too.
coach. Yeah.
So
I just think what you're saying rings a little bit truer, man. I mean, Indiana, with Kurt Signetti at the helm, they just seem like I really don't know the best way to put it, man, but they just seem like nothing's
most
going to stop
complete
them.
team,
But
maybe.
yeah, yeah, the most complete team, most likely, and when I say nothing's going to stop them, I mean like they're not going to give you anything that helps you, if that makes sense. Like you're
Yeah,
going to have to earn every single thing that you
yeah,
get in a game against them, and you're going to have to beat them.
yeah,
They're not going to give up. They're not going to give up the field position battle to you. They're not going to give up the penalty battle to you. They're not going to give up
right.
the third down conversion battle. I mean, they just it's really weird, man. I mean, I don't know that I really recall seeing a team that plays as disciplined as they do and finds just I don't know, they just seem so efficient, I guess is the best
Yeah,
word that I'm looking for. They just seem like a
yeah,
very efficient, well-oiled machine.
yeah.
And
I think
I
it's
think that
perfect
they're
way to
going
describe them.
yep. And like and you made the best point actually. They're not looking at it like a team that they just played in the season. They're just looking at this as the next opponent, you know, the next team up, the
Yeah,
next team that they plan to take down. And I think they're going to be very well prepared for this game. You look at the spread, man, and it just kind of shows how tight of a game that this could end up being. You know, it's a 3.5 point spread. It is
yeah,
leaning in Indiana's favor naturally. Over under 46.5, man. I don't know. I mean, it does seems like Oregon puts up quite a bit of points, and Indiana. I don't know. There has been times where Indiana didn't score as many points, but they found a way to win. But Oregon's done that as well. So I don't really know. This is going to be a really close game. Um, and I'm with you on this one, man. I think Indiana is going to finish it out. I think they're going to get the job done in this game. Um, because I'm sure that a coach like Kurt Signetti and his coaching staff, I'm sure that they feel, even though they beat Oregon in the regular season, I'm sure that they feel as though that they left some stuff on the field as well. I'm sure
yeah,
he's going to pick apart and dissect that game film. He's obviously going to watch Oregon's most recent game against Texas Tech's game film, I'm sure. I don't know the guy's routine. He's a freaking sicko, man. Kurt
Yeah.
Signetti, he's an
Wow,
absolute
dude.
sicko. But I'm rolling. To make a long story short, I'm rolling Indiana on this one. I just think at this point in the season, with everything they've accomplished and the way that they're playing, it's going to be hard to pick against them, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. And I will say the cool thing again, about all four of these teams, I'm really okay with any one of these teams winning. You know how
Yeah,
usually you have like a team that you're like, I just don't want them to win the Natty, or I don't want to
right,
like
right.
I mean, I have the one I'm pulling for. Overall, I think I am pulling for Indiana. Just a cool season that they've had, man, and the turnaround they've had, after the last couple of years, um,
Insane.
is insane. So I think deep down that's who I'm pulling for. Um, but I would be like either one of these teams winning, man, is not going to hurt my feelings, and that's what's cool about these final games. But I just think Indiana's going to win this one.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mike. And then the final game of the day there. Well, it's actually the next day on Friday. You know, Miami versus Ole Miss. I mean, two teams that took down two college football giants. Miami just polished off Ohio State, and Ole Miss just took down Georgia. I'm sure that I would go out on a limb and say 70 to 80% of the population had either Ohio State or Georgia win it at all.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a matchup between two teams that just took both of those teams down, man. 3-point spread in this one. It's actually leaning Miami. How do you feel about this one, dude?
This one is an interesting game, man. You got two teams because, and I know we say that about every game. It's interesting, but no, this one, what stands out to me, man, is you got two teams who probably people didn't think were going to be here. Um, you've got Miami, who barely made the playoffs and has made their way here, and then Ole Miss, who I know everybody knew they were going to beat Tulane, but not
Right.
everybody knew they were going to beat Georgia, and I think a lot of people
Right.
think that's where it would stop for them, especially without their coach. And
Yep.
so two teams that are almost both of them playing with a chip on their shoulder now face each other.
Yep.
Um, and so it's kind of going to be, I think, who wants it most in this game, to be honest with you, because these are two teams who played their heart out to get to where they're at. Um, man, I don't know. You could go either way. It's so tough because, again, Miami's probably got the better defense here. Ole Miss, I would argue, has got the better offense, maybe overall.
Yep.
Um, not saying that Miami don't have playmakers because they do. Um, so it's kind of a I don't know. I'll say offensive defensive game. I know historically defensive games or defensive teams tend to win a lot of times, but I'm gonna roll, man, with Ole Miss. I'm just gonna keep on rolling with that Ole Miss magic to get to the national championship, man. And I don't know what it is. I'm gonna pick them. I may be completely wrong, but I'm gonna roll with Ole Miss on this one.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, if Trinidad Chambliss has another performance like he had against Georgia, there's no way Ole Miss loses this game,
Yeah,
in my opinion. Because if he does that against the Miami defense, because Georgia's
yeah,
defense has historically been great. I don't know that Georgia's defense was all that great this year. If you look at
yeah.
how many close games they had, close encounters,
Hmm.
that realistically Georgia could have had enough losses to not even made the playoffs this year. That's how many close games they had that came down to the wire. I would argue that Miami's defense is better than Georgia's defense this
Oh
year.
yeah, I would too.
Um, so it's going to be a crazy game. And I want to kind of go back to the first game we talked about real quick and just emphasize how hard it is to pick that one too, man. In a way, I mean, I picked Indiana on that one just based off of how well they've done all season and how consistent they've been.
Hmm.
In this game, however, Miami versus Ole Miss, dude, I am torn. I am 100% torn on who I want to pick.
Yeah,
Um, if I make my pick based off of what I saw Ole Miss do last week, or yeah, last weekend against Georgia, I would have to roll with Ole Miss. If I pick Miami based off of them taking down the number two Ohio State and just how impressive their defense has been all season, I would have to roll Miami. I'm gonna have to sit here and ponder on this one for a minute as I just kind of talk through it,
yeah,
Mike.
yeah.
Uh,
It's a tough one.
yeah, Carson Beck finds himself. in the spotlight again, and the biggest stage of college football again, man. And I think that experience has to mean something, just like it meant something against Ohio State. Um, Miami hasn't had success since, what did we say, Mike? Was it the early 2000s when they had those crazy national championship teams
Yeah,
and stuff like that?
it's been early
Um,
2000s.
they're going to have Michael Irvin on the sideline, coked out of his mind, sweat dripping off of him, like doing some odd stance down on the ground on the sidelines, cheering and screaming. That it's just really odd, actually, now that I just sit here and really think about seeing these two teams this point in the season, man.
Yeah,
Like you said, it's super cool to see.
it's like everybody's bracket, right?
Yeah, just I'm just going to do this just for the sake of the podcast and having a little bit of parody on the show. I'm gonna roll Miami on this one, and I don't know that I truly feel that or believe that, but I'm just going to be honest and air it out just for the sake of having some parody on the show. I'm
Yeah,
going to go ahead and just pick Miami. Um, I'm going to roll with the experience of Carson Beck, mixed in with the tenacity
yeah.
and speed and physicality of that Miami defense. Yeah, that's what I'm going to
Yeah.
do, man.
I think either pick here you can't really go wrong with, man. I mean, we obviously can, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I think no one's gonna blame someone for either pick in this.
right.
And I kind of felt like you would probably roll Miami just because of how you've been with them,
Yeah,
and and how you've been with Ole Miss. But I do think you realize that like last week or this
yeah,
past game just kind of showed you well, there's some things that's definitely been overlooked. Um, but
yeah. And I didn't go down that long tangent to dramatize this last segment. I truly did
uh,
in real time struggle with that pick just now.
yeah. Yeah, and that's how this game is, man. I mean, like I said, with the Indiana Oregon game, even though I feel like that game's going to be crazy close, but just you feel like you got to feel confident sometimes in picking Indiana. And if you're
Right.
wrong, then it's just college football, and that's how it is. But
Yeah.
sometimes things just point a certain way. This is a game that you could argue either way on these teams, man, for
Yeah.
why you made your picks. Um, I definitely understand that being a tough one. I just hope we get two awesome games, man, in this Final
Yeah.
Four, and then an awesome championship. Um, because this is a great Final Four in my opinion. The more I pondered on, I was torn earlier and or in the round beforehand because I thought, well, Georgia playing Miami would have been crazy with Carson Beck having to play
Yeah.
Georgia, and that would have been a crazy storyline. But then after I look at these four, and I'm like, that's still really cool top four to have, and not something I feel like we would have imagined. I mean, the Indiana Oregon side of it, I think I even had that predicted. So like,
Right.
on there, I know I'd have to look to verify it, but I'm pretty sure we had those teams, both of us, um, predicted to get to that point. Um,
Yeah.
so that I'm not as surprised by, but that Ole Miss Miami side definitely, not the two teams I had coming out of that. So
Yeah. That side of the bracket definitely got shaken up for a lot of people, I would imagine. Um,
absolutely,
there's something really important to mention, I think. Obviously, the national championship is going to be derived of either a Big Ten and a SEC team or a Big Ten and a ACC team, regardless of how you slice it. You got two Big Ten teams battling it out for that championship spot. And then the SEC is represented by Ole Miss versus Miami in the ACC. So you're going to have a Big Ten versus somebody matchup in the
yeah.
championship. That seems to be a common theme over the past few years, man.
Yeah, no, it does, man. I have to give them credit where credit's due. Um,
Yep.
you know, and I mean the SEC, the SEC doesn't suck. You get the people out there that love to say that and stuff. They
Yeah.
more just you could argue the Big Ten has been the better conference the last few years. You could, and
Yep.
understand the argument there for that, but. The SEC by no means sucks, but you do got to point that out. I mean, the Big Ten's been here the last few years, and
Right.
good chance of winning it maybe again. We'll have to see how it plays out. But again,
Yep.
even though I'm wearing the Michigan hat, I am a Tennessee fan, and I tend to pull for the SEC. But hey, the Big Ten, Michigan was part of that a couple of years ago too, when winning their Natty. So,
I
you got to
love the
give them
Michigan hat, by the
credit.
way.
Yeah, man, I will say that the Michigan hat's sick, man. I kind of ordered it while back and just in case for the Ohio State game, but no, I got it, and when it came in, I was like, I knew I wouldn't really wear it a ton because being a Tennessee fan and everything, but I was kind of I'm pretty neutral with Michigan. I don't have anything against Michigan. My wife's family's from Michigan, so I was like, well, that could be a reason in it. But when
Yeah,
we were looking at it, I was like, it's just such a cool hat that I gotta
yeah.
wear it sometimes. So I kept it, and I'm a hat guy. So um, yeah,
I
man.
would like to say one thing in regards to the Michigan hat.
Yeah.
I do want to make a full disclaimer. The Fourth and Whatever podcast does not condone the allegations on Sharon Moore whatsoever.
Yeah. No, that's get a new coach.
Yeah, they've already got a new coach, so
Yeah,
you're good. You're
we're
in the
good.
clear.
They already got a new. I couldn't wear this thing for a little bit, but now it's
Yeah,
back.
that's why Michael didn't pull it out the past few episodes.
Hilarious, but yeah, but yeah, man.
Oh,
Michigan, they do have a lot of things happen there with
yep.
allegations and different stuff. So I don't know. Maybe they'll get that straightened out here with this new coach.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, like I said, the games are being played this week,
Yeah,
Thursday the 8th and Friday the 9th. So this episode, we'll have a few fans. You'll have a few days to watch it. Watch our reactions to the last weekend. Watch our predictions for this week. Drop some comments down there on the TikToks and the YouTube shorts and this episode in general. Tell us who you think is going to make it to the national championship. Tell us what you thought about the second round of the playoffs. That we absolutely loved everything about them. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and give us some ideas. Give us some ideas of what we should talk about over the off season, because the off season is coming to a very close start here. So we're gonna have
yeah.
to start gearing up for that as well. But until then, man, we've got big games this week. Got the Natty to look forward to. Mike, is there anything else you want to tell the people, man?
Let's just enjoy this last little bit of football, man. So got some good ones coming up. So and yeah, thanks everybody, and Adam, man, as always, it's been fun, dude, and I'll see you next week and we'll see how it goes.
That's right, man. Take care, brother.